Okay. Okay, we're going to go live. And I'm actually going to share today's share as well on the, if it works, on the, oops, which one is it? Page by sharing. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so we're learning the Mammar. It's page 19 on the bottom right-hand side. And it's the Mammar Vayashkem Lavan Babaker Vinashik Levanav Ulevnaisav Vayivarech Eshem. This is a Mammar, this is a verse that says towards the end of the parsha of this week about when Yaakov leaves his father-in-law's home Lavan, and he meets up with Lavan, chases him, and they meet up, and they make an agreement at the end. Lavan kisses his children. He wakes up early in the morning, kisses his children, and they go their own ways. Now, that's the story, the way it's told in a less positive way about Lavan. But we're going to learn now in Chassidus that Lavan, at his core, like most characters, people that are in the Torah, that at their core, they have a very holy spark and a holy message. So we're going to learn about the holiness of Lavan, which Lavan means white, in the Chassidic idea of Lavan in this Mammar here. So it says like this: Vayashkin Lavan baboker. Lavan wakes up early in the morning. Vayinashik Levanav Naisef, he kisses his sons and his daughters, meaning his grandchildren. Vayivarech Esem, and he blesses them. The verse says in Yechsiv, it says, L'cha Hashem ha'gedula v'ha'gevura. That L'cha, to you, God, you have greatness and you have great severity and power. Gevura is power, severity. Blush and nekeva, and these are all in the female. Shei mechinas mekablim, why is it called in the female? Seemingly the midos, the attributes of God, are giving. And we know that in the page, we're just starting bottom page 19. So that the attributes are traditionally giving. And nevertheless, we say God, instead of saying a masculine of Gadol and Gibar, we say Gedula Gvura. Why? Sheheim Bechinas Makablim are in Saif Baruch, because at their core, they're receiving from the infinite, and then they turn around and they become mashpia, and they become a provider, a giver beneath them. But at first they have to receive in order to have the power to give. So that's the Gedula and Gvura they receive from the infinite of Hashem. Means they're not, there's no, the point that we're saying is that God essentially is not made up of his midas. We've learned this many times. It's a manifestation of God, that he's called great and he's called severe or powerful. So therefore it's a makabel from the infinite that's beyond the concept of the midos. Because God himself is beyond great. He's not, you can't call God great as if we're defining God in any way. Any of the attributes as a way God manifests in order to be, so to say, creator, and within creation, the levels of godliness. But in the essence of God, which is the Ein Sof, the infinite light, which is itself a manifestation of the Ein Sof, of the infinite. But even from the infinite light, there's pshitas, it's simplicity. And there's no definition of greatness or severity or powerful. And therefore, the verse teaches us, and we look at footnote number 29. It's brought out in the Megillah, meaning the tractate Megillah. It says that the Makim Gdulase, where you see God's greatness, you see his humility. He humbles himself to be defined as great. Vihine Gdula, and what is the attribute of greatness? In that God manifests himself and that it receives from the infinite light. The power that basically the idea is like this in a nutshell. The attribute itself is a vessel, is the kalim. A kalim is like any receptacle that defines and contains something, but not just contains in a way of holding it, but also in defining it. So the infinite light goes into the vessel, and this power becomes a power of gedula, of chesed, of kindness. Gedula and chesed are the same. In Kabbalistic times, they referred to gedula and later changed to chesed. So what is the attribute of Gedula, of Chesed? That's the attribute of Avram, Midas Avram. As it says, Gemesha Kasev, Vagadla Eshemecha, I'm going to make your name great. So we see the terminology of greatness is referring to Avram. This is what we say, Elikei Avram, the God of Avram. That Avram, how God manifests in the concept of giving a Chesed. So much so it's brought down in Sefer Aboyer, which is a Kabbalistic Torah, a Kabbalistic work, that the attribute of kindness itself felt that it had nothing to do once Avram came to the world, because Avram personified the whole concept of kindness. This is the God of Avram. Why do we say what's the greatness of God? That he could humble himself to be defined as great. Again, you have to recognize greatness to be able to call something great. When something's a great person, we're in top page 19 in the corner, in the left-hand corner. You have to have an idea of something to know that that thing is great, right? You say, this is, in my knowledge of things, this person's great. That means you have a definition. So God has to humble himself to be defined, to be recognized, that we could call him even great. That God's infinite light goes down to such an extent that he expresses himself and rests and manifests within the concept of Avram, my loved one, which means to say the concept of chesed. Because chesed, again, is a definition. And even though us on the receiving end, of course, that we're in this world, I mean, look at when God's great chesed manifests, we see it as acts of greatness and kindness. But that's a definition, and that definition is humbling for God. So the fathers, now we're trying to get to is to understand who's Lavan. And what is the idea of Lavan? This is, again, one of the Mammar of Torah Or, so it's less explained, and it's short, but it packs a very powerful punch, and there's a lot of content in there, ideas in there that we have to try to understand to the best of our ability. So he says like this, the fathers are the chariot. Meaning, what's a chariot? The chariot is like a chariot, has no say on where it's going to go. The rider controls where the chariot goes. So too, the fathers were so bottled, so nullified to God that they had no say about themselves. They were totally like a chariot riding however God wanted them to be. The definition of a chariot is bittul, self-nullification. By day came, and because they had such a level of bittul that they were actually like a chariot to God, because we know that God only could rest in a place of bittul. As when you put your own agenda or even character or a twist to something, it's pushing outwards. In order to be in a place for God, you have to go inwards, and that's bittul. By day came because they had the bittul, because they were chariot, they were able to have God, so to say, rest within them and expresses himself via them. That's why they're the midos. Avram is kindness, Yitzchak is severity, Yaakov is rachmanis, is teferes. Or in Seif Baruch Hu begili mamish, and therefore Hashem, the essence of the light of the infinite, is able to reveal itself within Avram, because they're so bottled, it's not a contradiction. The infinite of Hashem and his attributes reveal themselves so much so that chesed becomes chesed of Avram. Avram Oyavi, Avram my loved one, which Ahav was also one of the midos of chesed. Chesed is kindness, is the mid of Ava. Upachad Yitzchak, the fear, which is Yira, which is Yitzchak. So they were so bottled, so nullified that fear, the concept of Gvur and Yira expressed itself in the Avitz and Avram and Yitzchak. This is the way Hashem manifests in his midos. It's expressed actually the way it is in the Avitz. It's not even a downgrade. It's a clear expression of godliness, the way the fathers manifested the ideas of the midos. And through the Father, so that's why their acts were acts of severity and acts of kindness, brought it down into the world, and that this infinite light that goes through the midos should come and be part of the essence of the souls of the Jewish people. We should have the ability to also feel the essence of godliness within us. Not just that we think about God. And we're going to see in a second what's the difference of machshava, of like the thought, but actually it becomes who we are, which we're aminim b'nei aminim. Now here with Alter Rebbe saying that we're believers, the children of believers, is shekol Yisrael aminim b'nei aminim is that's deeper than just emunah. It has to be das. It has to be hakara. We recognize God. We actually, it's part of us, not just in a way of belief. I believe that's what he's saying. That it's not just the machshava that we have that we're believers, but it becomes who we are. Meaning to say, we could have the fact that we're believers, the children are believers. That's just by being a child of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. But to have the expression of Avram, the way they are, live within us, that's beyond maminim b'nei maminim, that we're just believers. It comes from das, it becomes who we are. He says the thought of a person, each person is in control at somewhat to their thoughts. What you desire is how you push your thinking process. So if you're a person that likes certain things, you're going to think about certain things. And because a person has a desire for something, again, the chayfetz in generally is chayfetz, the want is ratzon. Okay, now we know that there's in the five parts of the soul, the ratzon is outside of the person, right? The midos, the machshava dibur ma'isa, the thought, speech, and action are the levushim, are the garments that the person functions in. Ratzon is beyond that. That's why ratzon is keser. It's above the head. It's above the midos, but there's a chayfetz, there's a want for something. And if you want something, so it dictates how you think about things and how you do things. That's what he says, v'chayfetz, the want of a person, yemale sleep, it feels what you feel in your heart, umachshavte, what you think about in your mind. Lahatoisim, the chayfetz controls, lahatoisim, to kind of guide them. If you want to use a light word, or you could even say manipulate them. Sometimes like this, sometimes like that, based on how you think and what you feel is based on what you want. But the problem is, what do you want? What is it that you want? So therefore it says, it's important that what you want, it says, what you want and your ratzon, what you desire, has to be taku, has to be wedged in the right place, in the trustworthy place. Otherwise, it's going to push things that are not a healthy agenda. And what controls what you want, that it should be it should be a makim nemoin, a trustworthy place, is the das. The hakara. Das is that powerful part of the person. That's why das kind of sometimes goes all the way up to the highest point. It's because that's the hakara, the recognition of what has to be. Bechinas hargasha, you feel kilu as if you see it. That's how that it brings a level of clarity and certainty. Ki'ilu, he says, but still, raya as if you see it. Ki'ilu means as if, but not. You're not seeing it, but as if you see it. He recognized, Avram Avinu recognized his creator. So the concept of recognizing, so therefore we go back, it's not enough that we have in our thought in general, we think about God because we're maminim b'nei maminim, we're the children of believers, and therefore we believe every Jew has a Jewish spark, and therefore they believe. This comes with avoida. The difference between maminim b'nei maminim and das is that maminim b'nei maminim is an inheritance. It's a check you get from your inheritance. But the das is something you have to work on. Shehikar aspire, you have to work on yourself that you feel it. Hargasha, it's the way you see it. You see godliness. But where do we get this from? So this is the level of the fathers. It means the fathers, because it's a combination of the fathers being who they are, and of course the mothers, and giving us this in Yerusha. Therefore, we're able to work on ourselves to have the level of das.
It's not including people who are adopted. Who convert.
Absolutely.
Later in life.
100%. The Rambam says that the convert says of my fathers, because it's a famous letter. People should learn. I should learn it myself because it came up in a few questions. A letter the Rambam wrote to Avadia the Ger, Avadia the convert, and there he says clearly, because the Avadia the convert, the Rambam says that halachically, that if a convert doesn't go to the mikvah, doesn't give the sacrifice after, that's part of the process of becoming a convert, so it's not a complete conversion. And the problem is, what about today when there's no ability to do the sacrifice? Are the converts not real converts? And that's what Avadia the Ger asked the Rambam, because he does this controversial ruling like that. And the Rambam says, God forbid that you're mamish, like the best of the best. You say, okay, Avram. But there we go into the concept that the convert also is connected directly to Avram. Because the fathers were a chariot to the attribute of Atzilus. We're in Atzilus, the world of emanation. It emanates godliness automatically. It's mamish connected. There's no pushback. It's not a world of separation. We're there in the world of Atzilus. We say Iu, he, meaning godliness. Vigarmeu, his vessels, which are the definition of the midos. Like we said before, the vessels define the characteristics of chesed and gvura. We're turning to the next page. Torah Or 1, But not everyone can handle that revelation that the fathers have. So the fathers are able to have the hikr, they're able to have the das, because they were mamish a chariot to God. What about us that are not chariots? If we can't set up just to be ma'aminim b'nei ma'aminim that we believe, we have to actually become one with it. How do we do that? So how could we bring it down to our world? We're not in the world of Atzilus, the world of creation, and creation by definition is already the beginning of separation. Never mind all the way into our world of action. But that's what most of the Jewish people are. They're not in the world, even though every soul starts in Atzilus, but doesn't remain there. It kind of goes through the Seder Shtalshus, where the fathers, kind of the way they were in Atzilus, they were Neshama of Atzilus. Moshe Rabbeinu was Moshe, the same Moshe. Is Huaydei Bechinusim Dregs Shvatim. So that we have to go through the process of the tribes. That's why there's a difference. The tribes are not the fathers. That's why the Avram Yaakov says to the tribes, Shema Yisrael Shem Elokeinu Shem Echad. He said when he hears from the tribes, he wants to know if they're holding on that same level of unification. We know that the tribes are holding on a lower level of unification. So we connect to the tribes. That's why each person connects to their tribe. Again, that's notwithstanding of your question about the converts, because even in the times of the Beis Hamikdash, there was a 13th gate for the converts as well. Ki shevet hu lashon hamshacha. The word shevet, which we translate liberally as the tribe, also the actual word shevet in Hebrew means to bring down. Kamei koichva de shavet, like a shooting star. So it's movement. V'gam lashon shevet, also shevet has another translation, is shevet v'anuf min ilam. It's a branch. It's not. It's different than a stick. It's a shevet there's a mata and there's a shevet. Sometimes the Jewish people are called matos, which is a staff, a disconnected branch, and a shevet is a connected branch. So it's still connected to the root. V'anuf min ilan hagadol, it's a branch of the great tree. Because the Shvatim, the tribes, were chariot not to the world of Atzilus, but the world of revelation. Bechinas hayam, it's like it says that there was the sea that Solomon designed all this in the temple. That the water was over the 12 cows. And the 12 cows represented the 12 tribes. And the water is the world is the receptacle of the world of Malchus. That's the separation between the world of Atzilus, where there's absolute godliness, even within the concept of world, until it goes into the world of creation, where there's a separation, where we have to find God. That's where things start to seperate. The 12 cows that are carrying the pool on top of them are the 12 tribes. Each one is like the 4. That's why they camped that way. They camped in the tent, in the desert, around like that, 3-3-3, which is 4 groups of 3. So those are the Arba Chayis HaMerkava, the 4 general animals of the chariot, Bnei Adam, and then there's the face of man, and the face of the ox, of the lion, and of the eagle, and each one were made up of 3. And each one is made up of the 3 fathers, meaning the midas of Chesed, Gvur, and Tiferes, kindness, severity, powerful, and beauty. Is how you'd base together 4 corners, the 4 parts of the chariot, each one made up of 3, makes 12. And that's how the general souls of the Jewish people get their level of godliness. It goes through the tribes. This we're going to find over and over again in the next few parshas. This concept of the tribes and the fathers, and how then we're going to get the Yosef component in it. That's why everyone's bushel has to bow to Yosef's bushel, because the idea of a bushel is you take wheat and you gather and make it into a pile, to a bushel of wheat, right? So then you're gathering, that's the idea of gathering the separation, but that's not enough. You have to nullify yourself to Yosef, which is higher than that. But this concept keeps in, it's going to repeat itself and show itself in different ways throughout the rest of the parasha of Bereshis, of the Sefer Bereshis. And therefore he says, and there it brings all the level of godliness to all the souls of the Jewish people. The level of the fathers is too much, it's too high, too connected, too nullified. But the level of the tribes, that's already more something that's within our reach. And this is what the prophet says, and we say this, it says, it means Navi, it means Yeshaya HaNavi. In chapter 63, he says, Lama sas'enu Hashem midrachecha Takshiach libenu mirasecha. I'll translate in a second. Shuv leman avdecha shiftei nachlasecha. What does that mean? Why do you lead us astray, O Lord, from your ways? You harden our heart from your fear. It means we can't really fear you properly. Return for the sake of your servants, the tribes of the heritage. Meaning to say that we feel that God has left us. We don't have that level of connection to God. But at least return to us for the level of the Shvatim and the levels of the tribe. We want to connect. Like it says, Lamasas einu Hashem midrachecha. What does it mean, your ways? Midas Avram, the ways of Avram. Why can't we connect like Avram? Where it says, where do we know that Avram means your ways? Like it says, he traveled, a traveler. What does it mean from your fear? That's the attribute of Yitzchak. We're asking God, we feel that we were left alone. We can't connect like Avram and Yitzchak, but at least come back to us for the sake of the tribes. And therefore the Navi is saying, why have you deserted us? Why have you hardened our hearts that we can't feel, that we can't identify with the fear? Why can't we be connected like Avram and Yitzchak? Why do we feel distant from God? We want that we should be able to reveal those levels within us. Even if we're in the exile of Edom, meaning to say, what does Edom mean? We're trapped in worldly things. So why can't we at least have something? If we can't connect like Avram, at least let's come back, at least in the connection of the tribes. We understand that the level of the fathers, that we can't reveal, especially in the time of the exile, where we're so lost in exile things, in exile, in narrative, in the exile way of thinking and concerns. But through the way God can manifest through the tribes, every Jew could reach that level. So he continues on top of the left-hand side, V'hinei midasa shel Yaakov. What is the attribute of Yaakov? We spoke about Avram and Yitzchak. What is the attribute of Yaakov? Avinu, our father, alav shalom, he, b'chinas harachmam el yainim, the great compassion. It's the great compassion of this conversation. Well, what is Yeshaya saying? Lamas isanenu takshiach libenu. You've deserted us. You've hardened our heart. So, but how do you connect to the level of the tribes? That's the level of compassion. Compassion is when a person recognizes the distance, and you recognize what drives you in life. How it's not godliness, and because the Rachmanis is not just a way it is. The Rachmanis is an avoda. When you have Rachmanis, you're able to connect again. When there's Rachmanis, you have to awaken at least the Rachmanis. You have to recognize there's a situation of that needs compassion. Compassion means something's wrong, right? And you're compassionate about it. That's the level of Yaakov. When you meet this Yaakov, Avinu alav shalom, he bechinas harachim al yainu. That's the great compassion. Shafilu kol ha'ilmes, no matter what world the person's in, shaykh v'neifel bechinas rachmanis. Fundamentally, everything's distant from God. So it doesn't make a difference if you're a little bit closer, a little bit, but you're not the essence. So everything's rachmanis. Rachmanis is anything that's not absolute godliness. It's you feel bad for it. We don't see it that way. We think we're doing God a favor of recognizing Him. But from the perspective of the emes, of the truth, the perspective of God, anything that feels that it's something, anything that's separate from God, it's a tremendous rachman. It's like you feel bad for someone who he or she has no idea what's going on in their life. Like it says in another place, and the tribes that have come out of Yaakov, and they're below that rachman, which means we have to. How do we connect? If the Navi is saying we feel disconnected, how do we reconnect? We have to awaken. We have to awaken Rachmim Ram, the great compassion, al nitzis alikus asher benafshi, because we do have a spark of absolute godliness in every one of us, in every single one of us. And how do we awaken the compassion? It's not just to say words of compassion. We have to contemplate the greatness of God, and how He's so great and beyond everything. Means nothing really matters to God. That He gets petty with worldly things. Fundamentally, every creation is totally nullified to God. Also, your soul was once nullified to God. The way you see yourself now, you look yourself in the mirror and you feel so distant, so disconnected. You have to work hard to feel a second of truth, of godliness. That wasn't the way it always was. Once upon a time, your soul, when it was at its source before it came down to this world in this body, we were part of mamash, a portion of godliness. We were totally nullified to the essence of God. And look what happened. We fell lower and lower. But not even talking about sins. We're just talking about our being in this world. And the more the person recognizes that and contemplates about that, you start to have the compassion. It's not feeling sorry for yourself. It's not the same thing. It's Rachmanis says you realize this is Rachmanis. You have a godly soul and nothing's happening over here. That's what the whole davening is about. That's what we talk about. Why do we talk about the greatness of God? It's to awaken, to become alive, realize what's going on. We keep on talking about the greatness of God. The greater and greater. It's not just about describing God's greatness. It then reflects on our reality and how great the Rachmanis is on us, how much compassion needs to be on us. You read us hanitzas, the fact that this great spark, meaning myself, and how distant I am in my reality now from godliness, at least in my mind and my heart. And it's again, you have to do that. By doing that, that opens things. By a person awakens the compassion, in each one under a level. Means each person, some people could do it much greater than others. Some people really feel it. It has to be an awakening from below, each person on their madrega. And then there's a response. That's the rule in godliness. That in avoda has to be a response. It's a relationship. You have to give, and then God reacts. There's a reaction. That's a an awakening from above. Like the tribe, like the branch. If you're going to pull the branch, then you pull the whole tree, right? You have a kind of a flexible tree, right? You can pull it all the way down. Sometimes some trees you can pull all the way down to the bottom, but you have to go grab onto the branch. You have to start pulling. You want to pull the tree with it. You have to be connected. When a person has an awakening from below, the level of the shevet, because that's the level of the regular person. It causes a response, an awakening from above. And what is that awakening? That God feels compassion for you. That God wants to give you what you want. He wants to give you the higher level of revelation, the level of the fathers. That should be revealed actually in your being, in your soul. That not just that you don't want to have just like that's what the Navi is saying. The Navi is saying, I don't want to remember us, shuv, return for your servants, the tribes, and return the original. Give me the experience of Avram and Yitzchak. And he says, that should be mamish revealed within your soul. The Hainu, what does that mean to be revealed in your soul? He defines it. Not that you just the maminim you believe. That you should actually have a das, connection, feeling, as if you see. Like we say, Avinu avarachamon, our Father, the Father of compassion, Rachim no aleinu, have compassion for us. That's part of the prayer. The same. What does it mean? What do we say when we say you have compassion for us? The same. Bilibeinu bina, give us understanding. Give us a heart of understanding. That's page 21. Make our heart the receptacle for understanding and connect and das and connection. We should feel it in the heart. And the way we do is through compassion. Because compassion is connected to das, to understanding. Like it says, Kol Misha Ein Boideya, the continuation of that statement is whoever doesn't have das, you can't have rachmanis. Even though seemingly what we're saying now, it's going the other way. The Gemara says in Brachas, whoever doesn't have understanding, you can't have compassion. The simplest translation is that the person is not recognizing what's going on. There's no point of having compassion on that person. The person doesn't recognize the situation. But we just said now that how do you get das? Through Rachmanas. So how can you say if a person doesn't have das, they don't have Rachmanas? But at least you have to want to have das. Means what do we say? The person you have to do is bindiness. A person is not even looking for das, not looking to connect, not looking to understand. So there's no Rahmanas there. It means you have to start something. There has to be an awakening from below. Yes, the das comes from the Rahmanas, but you have to try to get the das. But this idea, this rule that I said, that every awakening from below is a response. It's totally, it's connected, it's dependent on on our avoda from below. That God awakens in response to our avoda. That we bring down from above. How does it happen? This idea that God responds to our avoda has to come from itself a place of compassion. That God is compassionate for us, that He's ready. It's like a father with a child, right? So the father has to make a decision, or the mother has to make a decision that you're going to be responsive to the efforts of the child, because the child's efforts are meaningless. They're so beneath it's a child. How could you respond to a child if you're so much above that? So you have to decide that I'm going to be responsive to the efforts of the child, even though seemingly the child is doing something so small in the eyes of the great parent or the king with the servant. So too, Hashem has to decide to be responsive to us. And that comes from its self-compassion. The king, God has compassion for us, and therefore He decided to be responsive to us. That's the source of compassion. That's what we say in Chassidus. It says, the Alter Rebbe says, what's the difference between when we say of harachamon and of harachamim? Pay attention. Sometimes in the tefillah we say the word father of rachamon and father rachamim. The difference is of harachamon means the father that has compassion. Of harachamim is the father that owns compassion. Means that the attribute of compassion is by Him. So do we want to awaken the compassion within the expression, or the power?
Yeah, this is my experience is different from what is described. There wasn't no earning anything from below. I didn't do anything below. God's compassion and God's grace came to me, and then I knew. I didn't do it. It was a gift.
Sometimes it happens that happens. So sometimes that we talk about that. Anila Dodi, God initiates sometimes to get the wheels rolling. So he says, and therefore we say, again, to have that fact that there is an awakening from above, or there's a response from above, that should be dependent on our avoda. God has to decide that on His own. It comes from above. Where does it come from? From the source of compassion. It's beyond the whole system of creation. The system is give and take, response to our avoda. We do something, God responds. But beyond all that is where the source of Rahmanas is. And there He decided to be responsive. To be responsive, yes, Shana, there's many times where God initiates things, so we should get started. But God wants it to be in a way of responsive. That's part of what He wants. He wants that we should work for it. The chinam, freedom, is not to have things handed out for free. That's not the traditional way of the way Hashem wants it. Like you say, chinam is Mitzrayim. That's not the way things should be. Even though again, it happens sometimes. For God, it will sometimes.
Well, I mean, it happened to me better than when I do try, and when I do all the voda that I do doesn't get what I got. As a gift.
That says yes, that's true. It's such a deep level of compassion that can't even be comprehended within the world with the chain of creation. Like it says, the Lord of the world, with your compassion, not the way we understand compassion, Daika. Now when we come back to the original part of the verse, it says, V'yashkim Lavan baboker, Lavan wakes up in the morning. Pirish Lavan de Kedusha. We're not talking about Lavan, the father-in-law of Yaakov as he is, and all that story that we're going to learn about in this week's parsha. We're talking about Lavan of holiness. But Bechinas Lavan Elyon is the whiteness, simplicity, no colors yet, nothing there, just a plain white. And a white piece of paper, you could do anything. The essential light. Kamshal Mari Govan, like a clear light. You can't compare it to any other color. Any color is an addition. It comes with the color, even if it's born with the color. But the color is not essential. It's not an essential. It's a color. But white. Who is the essence. It doesn't get defined by color. That's why it eludes the concept of the simplicity of God, of the essence of God, but it has no definition of color. Has no color. Again, color also would represent the midos, the attributes. The less machshavat tfisa, but you can't. There's no thought that could grasp the essence of God. God doesn't change. The lack of change also comes from simplicity. Gets changed means you have to change from something, right? You have to be something to change from there. He's going to say, what is in one of the claims that Yaakov has to Lavan is you kept on changing my wages. Every morning I walk up with another. We had another contract on my table that didn't have anything to do with yesterday's contract. So he was talking about how Lavan was fooling him. But in the simplicity of it is also like that. There's no definition. Yesterday's yesterday, today's today. One day it could be Nikudim, the next day it could be Akudim. All the the levels that Yaakov was referring to, either it's akud, it's all in akud means gathered in one vessel. Nekudim is dots, brudim is patterns. When the person says, "What do you mean? Yesterday you told me this." That's only if yesterday means something. If there's definition, and all the levels come from Lavan. Lavan can do anything because on a white piece of paper you could write anything. Only when it comes down to this world, this gets defined as akudim. And in the words of Chassidus, we're going to learn in other places, akudim means where it's the way the lights are gathered in a single vessel. Nekudim are separate dots. That's the world of chaos, the world of Esav. But the way they are before they come down, they're all nullified. There's no definition. A lot of times in Chassidus it explains it's like when you stand in front of the king, all the different ministries are the differences of them, right? It could be the finance minister is different, has a different agenda than the war minister. Everyone has their job to take care of. But that's the way they are separate in their offices. But when you stand in front of the king, the all servants equally to the king. So but the way they are initially, at the source, they're totally nullified. There's no name, there's no definition. Therefore, any day could be something else. Therefore, it's not a contradiction. That yesterday was akudim. These are the dream. This is the dream of Yaakov, where he sees the different dots and patterns and the way things were in the sheep. And he kept on saying, you keep on changing things. Yeah, I could change things when there's no definition. We didn't define anything yet. So today I could say akudim and I could say nekudim because it still doesn't mean anything. There's no name. Very flexible. Back from the dots to being separate dots, to being all one dot, a whole bunch of lights in a single vessel. Doesn't make a difference to God at that level. Only when they get defined, then it's a contradiction. Yesterday you made me the janitor. Today you're making me the pool cleaner. I can't keep on doing different things. But that's only if you start taking a name for yourself. You start giving yourself a character. But therefore, there's no change over there. And that's why Lavan, the way he comes down in the negative, also doesn't care what he said yesterday. But that's in a way of fooling Yaakov. Or cheating Yaakov. But in the level of Lavan, where it's the simplicity, and that's what we're trying to reach, the rachamach haram, the compassion. The idea is how do we bring down that we should be alive, even if we're a shevet, even though we're a tribe, we're not Avram Yitzchak, that we should have the feeling that we shouldn't be like Yeshaya says, that why did you leave us astray? Why do you harden our hearts? So why? Because we could connect to the Lavan alien, to the whiteness of Lavan. There is a source of compassion that anything could happen. That's way beyond the chain of creation. It's even great. It's even great. Now he says, it's even greater than what Avram does. He wakes up in the morning, because Avram wakes up in the morning. It's defined as chesed. He brings down the compassion. That God decided that the reaction of Avram is going to the action of Avram is going to be a reaction to our avodah. But at its source, it's much higher. The father of compassion. But that's of a There's already compassion decided, but the source of it comes from Lavan alien. Here is in this not so clear what he's saying. But the way I understand it from the Mammarim is that the Yashkam, Avram waking up in the morning is after Lavan wakes up in the morning. Lavan first wakes up in the morning and decides how it can be. Enables that there should be a reaction of Avram to our action. This is what it means that Lavan kissed his children. Which means his grandchildren. Rashi says clearly, the children of your children are like your children. That he gave by kissing them, it was enabling them to be effective with their avodah. And who are his daughters? Which Leah Rachel, the world of Leah and the world of Rachel, which are the Mammar that the Alter Rebbe discusses before this Mammar. So there's a little background information that's required to understand this Mammar. So we already have the world of Leah and the world of Rachel. Of Rachel, what's the difference in the world of Leah and the world of Rachel? That Alma Discasia, the hidden world, the revealed world. The hidden world, Alma Discasia, the revealed world. Leah is thought, which is hidden. Rachel is speech. So both those worlds, the worlds of thought and the world of speech, that he empowers them as well, meaning Lavan, the simplicity, empowers all levels of operation. All these levels, he empowers, he gives them through the kiss. Again, in Chassidus, kissing is there's three levels of relationship. There's intimacy, there is kissing, and there's looking. So kissing is much higher than intimacy. So he says that he kisses his children and his daughters. To give gives his breath to their breath. Whether the person he's enabling, the person who's a giver, or enabling the person who's receiving, but to be a good receiver, like we said before, you have to know what you're receiving, right? What you want. Shiyah, up at page 22. Nishma v'nimshach b'chinas rachmel yonim, that by kissing them, he gives them that they should have the compassion, which enables them to have das, which enables them to have a connection to Hashem of our doing. It has a response that God reacts to our actions. That God's giving us response to be dependent on us. Seemingly, see, that's the difference in the world of Esav and the world of Yaakov. Esav didn't have that. Esav was given mishmani aretz, no avoda. The expression is shver tzaniyid. It's difficult to be a Jew. It's by choice. God made it that we shouldn't. It shouldn't be a free thing. It should be. A person wants to be able to earn what they're doing, and earning is an avoda. And God decided, and He Lavan enabled us to create that avodah, that God should respond. That's why Vayashkim Lavan Babaker, and then there's Vayashkim Avram Babaker. Lavan, although the Torah talks about it later, but in theory comes first. Lavan enables that when Avram wakes up in the morning, it's a response to our avodah, and therefore we're able to bring down Avram into our lives. That was what the Shvatim wanted. The Shvatim wanted the revelation of Avram in their life, that they shouldn't be separate. And it says, what did he do? He kissed them, Vayvarach Eshem. He blessed them. What's the blessing? When God blessed Adam and Eve and said, go conquer the world, fill it up and conquer it. It shouldn't just be the blessing to get through, but to be able to transform. That the darkness should no longer be darkness, and that needs an extra blessing. That we shouldn't just be able to be successful, we should be able to actually transform the world. That the whole world is going to bless you and your children. That the sons of Yaakov shouldn't just be in the world, but all the sparks of the world should be affected and be elevated to the children of Yaakov. And after he kisses and enables us to do our avodah, he goes back to where he came from. He means he goes out, he lowers himself. It's a hashpala to go and empower us. Then he goes back to his source. What does that mean? When do we get that power? Every day is in the morning. We wake up with energy, good commitments. We're doing it. We're getting this. We're going to make this day a fantastic day. Zman tefillah shachar. Wake up in the morning. We daven shachar. It's the morning prayer. Alachet tefillah. But then after we daven, Lavan kind of goes back. Mistalika arazu kind of It's leaving, that ray of energy is kind of leaving us. You have to daven again tomorrow. Every morning it's a process over and over again. Because until we finish the job, and every morning because Lavan goes back, he has to come back again the next morning. And then Yaakov halachadarki, our job is Yaakov Yud, we take the Yud of Hashem's name into the heel, into the avodah of the day, into the avodah of the foot, going out there. Halach v'nimshach b'chinas Torah mitzvahs, we do performing our Torah mitzvahs. The Torah ikri derech, the Torah is the path of a person. V'day l'meivin, and so self-understood. It's a beautiful Mammar. And we should be zoicha, good chodesh everyone, and a good vach, and a good week. We should have a yetze, we should be poil, all's good. Laila tov.
Thank you, Rabbi. Laila tov. Shavua tov, everybody.
Take care.